So what do you do when there's an exhibit of your favorite artist's work? A huge exhibit. The only thing is, it's half a country away. You get on a plane and you go see the exhibit, and you take your daughter with you. Today, Thaxton Studios presents a trip to the Brandywine River Museum to see the N.C. Wyeth New Perspectives show. I'm Anthony Thaxton, and I grew up loving the old-time illustrators. Early on, I loved Norman Rockwell. I still do, but Norman Rockwell's book, Norman Rockwell Illustrator, I would check that out of the library, and I would take it out on the shrimping boat where I worked during the summers, and I would pore over those images and dream about what kind of artist I would become one day. And I loved the storytelling aspect. Then when I encountered N.C. Wyeth, my whole world was just blown away. His paintings were so vibrant, dramatic, colorful, wonderful, and they always told great stories, sometimes with large areas of dramatic shadow and then bright areas of light. Just wonderful, wonderful things. So I have always followed and loved N.C. Wyeth's work. I live in Mississippi, so we don't have tons of big exhibits coming here. So I have to go and travel if we're going to see some great work. And when I saw this, and I saw that the last weekend of this huge Wyeth exhibit was about to happen, I decided that I wanted to go and do that. Besides, I owed my daughter a trip because my wife and son went on a trip, and I promised that I would take her somewhere. So she had only flown once in her life, so I said, do you want to go with me and let's fly up to Pennsylvania and see this exhibit? My daughter is an artist as well, so she decided to go, and we just had a wonderful time. It was exciting. It was the last weekend of the New Perspectives exhibit at the Brandywine River Museum. So we flew up there, and my daughter is the one who chose which vehicle that we would rent. So she chose a Camaro. So I squeezed myself in there. We drove straight from the airport to the exhibit. And man, what a great thing it was. It was the next to the last day, so we got in there and just had 2 or 3 hours after flying in to really enjoy the art. And I was just blown away by the size of the pieces. I knew his pieces were large, but seeing them in person was just a thrill. And looking at some of the areas of brushstroke, and then the areas of detail, and just the bravado of which he would attack these canvases, and then some of the things that he would leave, and then some of the things that he would develop. It was wonderful, and watching his progression as an artist. Now, both my daughter and myself love his early work even better than his later work, but we loved it all. Seeing the canvases in person was just something that you can't compare. And looking at images and illustrations and books are one thing, but seeing the up close brushwork, and I'm not sure the photography captures all of this, but we wanted to share some of this experience with you. One of my daughter's favorite pieces was the Captain Nemo piece. She liked the brushwork, the color, the subject matter. I particularly am drawn to the Treasure Island pieces. Now, I know these were in 1911 at the beginning of his career, but I think that's what was so wonderful about them, is from early on, here he was proving that he was going to be a master of this medium. And as much as I love the Howard Pyle things, Wyeth's work was just a whole different thing, a whole new level, and I think even Howard Pyle knew that. But Wyeth, his ability to tell a story of a dramatic thing, even simple scenes, simple ideas, but told in a poignant, powerful way. It was just such a treat. The staff at the Brandywine were impressed that someone would fly up from Mississippi with their daughter to see the exhibit. But here's the way I look at something like this. There are lots of people that will fly and go off on hunting trips, and they will spend money to go on fishing trips or to go to concerts. We don't do a lot of that sort of thing. So investing a little bit into seeing artwork in person is something I highly recommend, especially for a young artist. I didn't get to see a lot of stuff growing up. I had books, but a lot of times the reproductions in those books just didn't do justice to the paintings, as I saw at this exhibit. But my daughter, a young artist who is impressionable, she needs to be seeing artwork in person. And she loves representational art, so the Wyeth paintings were really a highlight for her to see. And I love that this is helping to form who she will become as an artist. Along with the N.C. Wyeth paintings, we saw Andrew Wyeth paintings, N.C.'s son. We also saw paintings of Jamie Wyeth, and just really had a grand time. All the Wyeth painters are represented there at the museum, and just what a wonderful building, and just the whole experience was great. Right at the end of the day, we joined the last group going on a tour of N.C. Wyeth's studio. This was really a treat to be in the place where he created so much of this wonderful canon of art. Looking at the props and the books, I'm a book lover, so looking at the titles of the books in his collection was really fun. But walking in the footsteps, looking at where he created his art, it was just a time of basking in this creative space and watching my daughter look around and looking at her think about what her studio will be one day. It's always fun seeing where art is created and seeing how artists work. So getting this behind the scenes peek is something that you need to put on your list of to-dos if you go to the Brandywine River Museum. The next day we had half a day before we had to fly home. So I asked her, what would you like to do? And she said, and I love this, I want to go back to the museum. So we went back to the museum and toured everything again, and the museum staff loved that. And this was the last day at the exhibit, so some people were crowding in to see. So we went straight to the images that were our favorites and just really enjoyed pondering and looking at those and studying those again. Then we bought some more things in the gift shop. This time, we decided to do yet another studio tour, and this was the studio tour of Andrew Wyeth, his home and studio. So we had a great experience getting to go experience the world of Andrew Wyeth. But looking at the miniatures that Andrew made and watching his technique and looking at the supplies and the materials, seeing where you could contemplate life and art, it was great. And my daughter really enjoyed that. For years, I painted mainly in watercolor, so Andrew Wyeth is also a hero of mine. We flew, we went to the museum, we ate, we went to the museum, toured the studios. That's all we did. It was an art excursion. So let me encourage you, you have a loved one who loves art, think about treating them to an exhibit of their something that they would like. It's a wonderful way to not only see art and experience that, but there's something about experiencing art together and talking about the pieces. I even did in the hotel room a small watercolor of N.C. Wyeth and had a great fun. And on the plane on the way home, I also started this other image based on a scene out in rural Pennsylvania that we saw. So sketching on trips like this too, you can't look at art and not want to do some art yourself. So that was our excursion all the way to Pennsylvania to tour the Brandywine River Museum. I highly recommend you going, whatever exhibit is there. It's a great trip and you won't be disappointed. I'm Anthony Thaxton. Thank you for joining us on Thaxton Studios' YouTube channel.